What I'm doing is our Monday mindset, and usually they're focused around one of our bold laws that we have so beautifully displayed here at the Strongsville office. So it's so important to me that we make sure our mindset is where it needs to be in order to do our business. So I didn't want to cut that out. So I moved it to Tuesday mindset. So today we're going to jump into mindset. If you have your journal, go ahead and pull it out, or something to write on that you can jot your thoughts down. We're going to be talking about the bold law, which is complaining equals garbage magnets. And I don't know if you've ever met anybody before who just every time you're around them, they always had something to complain about. Hopefully it isn't actually you. I mean, there are moments, my kids can attest, where there have been many days when the only words out of my mouth were something to complain about, something that wasn't going right in the house. I was a stay-at-home mom for a long time, and there were always things to complain about because it was a house full of toddlers at times. And whether my husband wasn't doing the right stuff or whatever, I could always find things to complain about. And isn't that true? Is
It is.
Any time in our life that we could literally not find something to complain about? Probably not. So if we start complaining, what happens is it turns into this big magnet. So I don't know if you've ever been, well, in the movies, you see it all the time. They have that big magnet in the junkyard, right? That big magnet comes down and it pulls up these big heavy cars right up like that. It gets all this garbage. And it's like, it's the same thing when you're complaining, because there are a lot of things to complain about. I'm not going to deny that we have yucky things in our life, and I don't want to deny their existence. However, once we start that complaining, it's like, oh, I got to complain about this too. Oh, and what about this over here? Oh my goodness. I'm surrounded by things that are going wrong. And we start then down this pity party journey, and we want everybody else sometimes to know about it, or we don't. It depends on your personality. We may just be complaining inside our brains. It's still just as detrimental, even if we're not talking about it. So I don't mean to pick on the people who complain verbally. That's not where I'm going with that. It's just that is more of an outward expression of what's going on inside of us. So I found a journal entry on WordPress. Her name is Cindy. I don't know her last name. Her blog is called Going Beyond, and she is doing journaling. And she has a day 50 that she was on, and it was a day without complaining. So I thought I'd read this to you, and then we're going to have a little activity that goes with it.
Okay.
It says, to day 50, a day without complaining. Today's first, to go the whole day without complaining. It was interesting. I'm not a big complainer, and yet I suspected there were more complaints sneaking into my words and thoughts than what I realized. It would have been easier to do this first on a Sunday when I tend to have more quiet time and less contact with people. But I had a full schedule today, and it was the perfect opportunity to try this and truly gauge my level of complaining. Keller Williams Realty has a saying, complaining equals garbage magnet. The more I complain, the more I attract into my life to complain about. Likewise, the more gratitude I express, the more I have to express gratitude for. I believe those principles. So it was good to do a reality check to see how I'm doing at living what I believe. I moved through my day with a raised awareness of my thoughts and words. In conversations with others, I stayed very mindful of not participating in complaining. I didn't mind if someone needed to vent. I just didn't need to join in and was able to listen without making a big deal about what my first was. One person who was aware of my no complaining day started to speak about politics and then very graciously dropped the subject. It was complaining to myself that I had to watch. When I dropped my container of deodorant this morning 3 times, rather than grumble about my clumsy fingers, I said, that's okay. Twice today, while driving alone, other drivers reacted in unexpected ways. When a car suddenly cut in front of me, I said, Gosh, I promise. That's the word that came out of my mouth. Just saying that caused me to press my lips together and not utter another word. Later, when a second car blocked traffic and a fire truck stopped to get through, lights and sirens going, I simply said, stop. I'm not sure why. Perhaps the word was spoken as a reminder to me, since the driver couldn't hear me and was stopped already. So basically, she decided to take a check of her brain for the whole day. So what we're going to do, the activity is we're going to take a check of our brain for the rest of this week. And we're going to have moments of complaining. Okay. So it isn't when you have those moments where you want to complain, that's the problem. It's the problem comes when we dwell on it and when we forget the many things we have to be grateful for, right? That is like the antidote to complaining is gratitude. So what we're going to do whenever we start to complain, that's okay. You're going to start to complain. Something happens, it takes you off guard, dropping your arm together. I don't know, whatever it is, you're going to want to complain. And sometimes it's to complain to the people around us who are maybe causing those things in our lives. We're going to just stop and say, in this moment, is there something that I can be grateful for? Something, anything. Maybe it's like, well, I can afford arm deodorant. That's a good thing. Because honestly, there are people that can't afford arm deodorant. And I'm blessed to be able to drop my arm deodorant today. So it is a reminder. How do you turn it around? If you're stuck in traffic, how do you turn that around into gratitude? Any ideas?
Well, I know that we've all been there, and I know there have been times when I got frustrated, but then there's other times when I'll just sit there and say, can you change this situation?
Yeah.
And I go, no. I said, okay, then go with it.
Mm-hmm.
And just realize everybody else is in the same situation.
Yeah.
So I'll do things like that sometimes. And you think, well, I'll call somebody and say hello. And about the time you do that, traffic moves. So
what can you be grateful for in that situation? Some time to do something?
Yeah, grateful that, there are times when I've just said, gee, I'm really grateful that that I have a car, that I can be in this situation, that I can be grateful it's not worse.
Mm-hmm.
I can just be grateful that I'm here.
Yeah.
And,
because nothing's ever going to go perfectly.
No.
There isn't a single day we're going to live that's going to go perfectly. And there's going to be triggers that could either take us spiraling down. And at the very bottom pit of that is depression, right? And
yes.
so we have to really be careful about that spiral down, especially in this business, because we're dealing with human beings a lot, right? So
right.
It can go wrong. So when that starts to happen and we start to feel that spiral down, my challenge is going to be for everyone is to find something to be thankful for.
Okay.
Maybe it's to even call somebody and just say, hey, I don't know if I've ever said this to you, but I'm thankful for you.
That's a good idea.
Is so powerful. It is one of the most powerful things you can do. Keller Williams teaches that gratitude is the highest form of energy. It really does. If you can find a way to get your brain into the gratitude mode, like, whoo, it's amazing. And I struggled with that, especially as a young mom, in us, trying to get my business up and running. There were days that I struggled with gratitude, and contentment was very difficult to find when you're not settled into gratitude. And I learned to find moments of joy because I was grateful for, maybe it's simple, like I get antsy if I'm not doing something sometimes. And I'm like, this has got to be done soon. I got to get back to work, because if I don't get back to work, I got all this big, long to-do list. And just to settle in, like, well, I'm not going where, like you just said, I'm not going anywhere. So what can I do to enjoy this moment and to be grateful? And I found that that practice has made me enjoy everything more. So even like recently I went to a community choir concert. Well, not recently, it's before the pandemic. And I just experienced this great joy being there. Yeah, I've always enjoyed, concerts and stuff that my kids were in. There was just something about, even though I had this long to-do list, there's nothing I can do about it. I'm going to enjoy the moment here. And it was, I don't know why that one really sticks out to me. It was a free concert. I don't know. I have no idea. I thoroughly enjoyed it. And my time there and the people I was with and watching the kids sing, it was fantastic. So sometimes I have a hard time stopping to do things like that, enjoy the moment. So whenever we start to complain, things are starting to drag us down this week, we're going to write gratitude. And every day, let's see if we can find at least 5 things to be grateful for in our journal. We'll take a moment right now, get our day off, started off right by writing down 5 things that you're grateful for today. And I'm going to do it too.
Oh boy.
You want to share anything on your list?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm grateful that I have improved health right now.
Me too. I'm grateful.
And I'm grateful that I can walk again, because there have been periods of time in my life where I couldn't walk due to my heart, but there was another time when I had a problem with my legs. Turned out to be my back, but I couldn't walk. And I remember sitting and watching people walk and thinking, I wish I could walk again. I mean, I wasn't bedridden or anything like that, but I just couldn't get out and walk a mile or a half a mile or whatever. So I'm happy about that. And I can do that. And I have a home.
Yeah.
And I'm grateful for my husband. And my children love me. Those are my 5 today.
That's awesome. So when things go wrong, it doesn't matter because you've got this huge list of goodness in your life, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yes.
And it matters to an extent. However, it's not taking away the joy that you have in those things that you're grateful for. So
I think when you do change that attitude, when you're complaining, I think it does change your mindset a little. Even your countenance, you get a little lighthearted, a little lighter in your thinking. Go, oh, it's really not that bad.
it's hard. It's really hard to not focus on when things go wrong. And I struggle with that. I really do. I am, I think there's a people pleaser part of most of us, right? So, especially as, it's like, did I do my best? Did I give the best service? Is there something that I could have done differently? And we can start to spiral down and just go, I'm not good enough. That's where those thoughts just end up and land there. And it's just so not true,
Right.
So your gratitude can also focus on, I was going to write down, I have the ability to do my to-do list. I'm grateful that I have that ability and I can.
Yes.
Do it. I can't, there's things that are out of my control and it doesn't matter. I can beat myself up like, well, what ifs, it's not like we can see into the future. Right.
Right.
So yeah, once we're past it's like, okay, maybe if I did that differently, things would have ended up differently. How would we know? We wouldn't know that. So be easier on yourself.
Yes.
Be thankful for yourself in that, you've been given so many gifts, and you just be easier. All of us need to be easier I need to be easier on myself. I can't see the future. We make the best choices we can and we move forward, and things don't
Yes.
go perfectly.
Right.
Have the expectation that things don't go perfectly. You could be grateful that you saw the future correctly that time. So,
Yes.